Hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from freestatecolorado.com with your weekly news roundup for June 17th, 2024. Nearly every week, I take a look at some headlines, news stories, and articles from across our great state. All the links can be found at freestatecolorado.com, as well as previous weekly roundups and some great interviews, articles, and more. This week, I interviewed Josh Metzel, the chairman for Colorado's Young Americans for Liberty chapter, as well as School of Mines student talking about their victory at School of Mines and how they're saving students money. Really positive, great example of liberty activism at that local level. Additionally, I interviewed Ian Escalante, Director of Operations for Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, going over their pro-gun primary candidates for this 2024 primary election. So if you're interested in those things, check them out. Got some great interviews coming up as well. Let's see what's in the news this week. Denver Gazette reports of violence and self harm in Colorado schools reach peak numbers. Yikes. Scary stuff, people. Schools aren't the same as they were when I was going to school. Grew up a product of Jefferson County Public Schools, and unfortunately, some of these numbers are very alarming. Safe to Tell Colorado report shows spike in spring semester calls from students. This is from June 13th, 2024. Reports about bullying, suicide, drug usage, and other forms of self harm in schools reached record numbers in Colorado during the spring 2024 semester, according to Safe to Tell. Safe to Tell Colorado is a statewide violence intervention and prevention program that allows students to anonymously report urgent safety concerns and distributes the reports to local law enforcement and school officials. Students made 3,224 reports in February, 3,188 reports in April, and 3,053 reports in May, which are the three highest report months ever at Safe to Tell. Yikes. The top complaints students made recently included school complaints, suicide threats, and bullying, but categories like drugs, vaping, self-harm, and school threats are close behind. That is scary stuff, people. If you have the opportunity to get your kids out of public schools, please do for their own benefit. Unfortunately, the situation doesn't seem to be getting much better. These bureaucrats and school administrators think they have some solutions, but all they really do is want to take more of your money away. So really get your kids in homeschool if possible, if you're able to do that. Not everybody is. Private school, charter school, whatever you can, but really pay attention to what's going on at your kid's school because the numbers are alarming about what's happening there. The reality is, school choice is a more viable option than ever. It's a nonpartisan issue that people all across the state support. People want better schools, safer schools for their kids. So I really think it's time for school choice or new school options to come to fruition here for kids because these government schools are just absolutely failing. Let's go ahead and move on. The Denver Pest. How an anonymous letter started an uproar over a land deal between a Weld County developer and Metro Districts. BB Draw Farms residents say a $10 sale is an example of flawed Metro District. Well, I've talked about flawed districts before, but specifically talked about Metro Districts in the past. Did some great videos with the wonderful Natalie Metten last year talking about property taxes and how Metro Districts represent a portion of property taxes that people aren't even aware of. If you live in a suburban or metro community, you're probably paying property taxes into a Metro District and don't even know it. These metro districts can do a lot. We saw in Brighton, they're trying to use eminent domain to take part of Palisi Farms, and here they're selling off property for $10. So pay attention to your metro districts. This is from June 16th, 2024. An anonymous letter signed by someone calling themselves Richard Marks appeared in mailboxes in December throughout the BB Draw Farms neighborhood in Weld County, telling neighbors they were swindled in a secretive land deal approved by an elected board that oversees the 186 home subdivision. That board, known as the BB Draw Farms Authority, sold approximately 400 acres of open space owned by the community for $10 to REI LLC, the company that built the subdivision and had plans to add a second phase. The problem, the letter said, was that one of REI's co owners was the development's general manager and also sat on the board that approved the sale. Within 6 months of the sale, Farmers Reservoir and Irrigation Company, one of the largest water management companies along the Front Range, bought REI LLC, including the additional 400 acres it now owned, for an undisclosed amount. The irrigation company not only wanted the land for a dredging project, but also was expanding its interest to real estate, said Scott Edgar, the irrigation company's executive director. REI LLC's general manager, Christine Heathcock, knew the irrigation company wanted to dredge the reservoir and that it would need land for the project, the letter said. Quote, imagine you own 422 acres of land and your business manager has been approached by a company to lease or buy the land, the letter said. Instead of working out the best deal for you, your business manager deeds the property to herself and then sells it, leaving you with no land or money. How would you feel? What would you do about it? I wish I could tell you this is a fictional story, but it is not, the anonymous letter said. You got to check this out. Very interesting stuff going on in Platteville and really across the state. These metro districts can get away with a lot just because people don't pay attention. So really get involved, know what's going on in your community. You know, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Unfortunately, things like this happen. So hopefully people can get involved and figure it out. Let's go to move on. Another Denver Post article here from June 15th, 2024. Armed robbers impersonate delivery drivers during Aurora home invasion. Yikes, that is scary stuff, people. Don't forget, these legislators in Denver are trying to take people's guns away. Law-abiding gun owners, the good guys who want to protect their homes and their families, are being attacked by our state government, trying to be disarming them so that they can't protect themselves in an event like this. Armed suspects posed as delivery drivers to break in and rob a family home in Aurora on Wednesday, police said Friday. The suspects were dressed in construction vests and claimed they were there to deliver a package, according to a statement from the Aurora Police Department. They waited for the homeowners to open the door before forcing their way in and robbing the family. Police said the incident happened about 8:45 p.m. Wednesday in the 4100 block of South Richfield Street in Aurora. Yikes. I mean, this is why you need to have a gun, why you need to be trained, why you have to teach gun safety to your children, and you have to be prepared in case something like this happens. Unfortunately, violent crime is still happening at a too high of a rate for sure, and these robbers, these criminals get creative. So be prepared to defend yourself. Let's move on. KDVR.com, June 17th, 2024. Man shoots, kills home intruder overnight in Commerce City. So potentially here, a great example of a defensive gun use where somebody was able to use a firearm to defend themselves, their family, their home from a violent criminal. A home break-in turned deadly in Commerce City overnight, according to police. The Commerce City Police Department said the break-in happened between Saturday and Sunday in the 5300 block of East 64th Avenue. According to police, the resident said he was attacked by an unknown intruder. He shot and killed the intruder. Yikes. No further details were immediately available. Police said the alleged intruder will be identified by the Adams County Coroner's Office. So, folks, protect yourself, learn how to protect yourself, and do not let these politicians succeed in their attempts to disarm you. Because this kind of thing happens. This is reality here in Colorado. And if people aren't able to defend themselves, the criminals will just be able to get away with whatever they want. Let's go to move on. This is the Common Sense Institute, a great nonpartisan, pretty neutral think tank here in Denver, but apparently they have other locations across the country. This is from June 17th, 2024. By the numbers, growth in property tax revenue. So property tax is something I talk a lot about here on Free State, Colorado, especially with the great guest, Natalie Menton. Property taxes are through the roof. Just how high are they? Of course, while everybody's struggling to pay their bills, pay their mortgage, pay their grocery bill, their gas bill, property taxes in Colorado are skyrocketing. Here's some key insights from the Common Sense Institute. Property tax revenue increased by $2.4 billion in 2024. The annual increase of 19% was the largest since 1975. Since 2019, property tax revenue has increased by $5.4 billion, 55%, and has more than doubled in the last 9 years. After adjusting for inflation, property tax revenue per Coloradan increased by $304 from 2,200 to $2,566 in 2024. Wow. So you got to think about this. Property taxes are skyrocketing. These local governments are getting more and more of your money while you're being strained just to make basic ends meet. These governments are greedy. These politicians are greedy. They want more of your money. It's time for real, meaningful property tax relief. Lower our taxes is what we need to be doing. How does the 2024 property tax revenue growth compare? 19% revenue growth rate. Inflation's only at 3.5. supposedly. Population at 1%, wage growth at 3.6. So they are taking more and more of your money, making it more difficult, more expensive to be a property owner, to be a homeowner here in Colorado. Definitely moving in the wrong direction. Enrollment in inflation adjusted property tax revenue growth for Colorado school districts. So these school districts are complaining about not having enough money, when the reality is they're dangerous places that are not meeting the standards of education for the kids. And then look how much money they're getting. They're getting so much money here. Just in 23 to 24, almost 14%. Expand that out a little bit, you're at 9%. And if you go all the way back for the last 5 years, 2019 to 2024, at 30% property tax revenue growth. Their budgets are swelling. It's absolutely ridiculous. How does the property tax growth rate compare? I mean, yeah, here we go. So absolutely crazy. Common Sense Institute has some great information. Here's a map looking around Colorado to see how much of that property tax revenue has increased. I mean, you see Grand County 37%, Saguache 36%, San Miguel 43%. Looking just at Denver 9%. I mean, it's ridiculous. This property tax growth has gone up incredibly high. People can't afford to pay it. These greedy politicians do not want to provide. They have not provided meaningful property tax relief, and they do not want to provide it. So if a politician is asking for your vote this year, really challenge them on providing meaningful property tax relief. All right, moving on here. Speaking of property taxes, a very unfortunate story. Unfortunately, we're seeing these kind of stories around. Nearly 100-year-old Denver Theater's owners say steep property taxes threaten its future. Aztlan Theater's Tomeo and Aurora Correa face a $37,000 bill, triple a decade ago. Absolutely insane. And I doubt they've made significant improvements to the property to really increase the value that much. It's more of the government just wanting more and more of their money. So, of course, these start off with a little story about the place there and the people involved, but let's jump down to some of the numbers here. The theater, which was rocked by the COVID-19 pandemic, like many gathering spaces, now sits empty in a state of despair. Its future is up in the air as Correa and his wife, Aurora, struggle to pay down the defunct theater's property taxes, about $37,000 total, ahead of the city's final June 17th deadline. In a city and region that have seen property values skyrocket, the older couple says they can't afford the tax bill, putting them at risk of losing the place where they met and spent decades connecting with the broader Denver community. Wow, since 2013, Correa's property taxes have more than tripled. His bill sat at just over 11,900 that year, according to data provided by the Denver's Department of Finance. 5 years later, it had jumped to nearly $14,500. By last year, that number reached about $37,400. Absolutely, absolutely insane. I mean, these greedy politicians just keep trying to take more and more money, and this is what happens. This is the result of high property taxes. This is what happens with high property taxes. People, you see places that have been there for 100 years shut down, family businesses shut down, people driven from their homes. Property tax relief, as well as just tax relief in general, needs to happen now more than ever. Let's move on. Checking out here from the ColoradoPolitics.com, in case you didn't hear this story. Colorado Libertarians decide not to submit party's presidential ticket to the state's November ballot. So, pretty interesting stuff here. Third largest political party in Colorado, and they're not going to submit the national candidate for president to the state's ballot. They don't like him. Let's find out why. June 14th, 2024. There he is. That's Chase Oliver there. He's the party's nominee for the Libertarian Party, the entire National Libertarian Party. But Colorado's Libertarian Party doesn't plan to submit paperwork putting the party's presidential and vice presidential nominees on the state's general election ballot, after determining the national ticket doesn't share the state party's core values, a party spokesman said. That could change if Libertarian presidential nominee Chase Oliver and his running mate, Mike Termott, change their positions on numerous issues, the spokesman told Colorado Politics. As things stand, however, the state's largest minor political party is leaving its options open and could nominate someone else or list none of the above as the Libertarian candidate for president in Colorado ballots. Libertarians nominated Oliver, the party's 2022 U.S. Senate nominee in Georgia, and Termott, a retired police officer from Virginia, on May 26 at the party's national convention in Washington. James Wiley, the Libertarian Party of Colorado's executive director and a congressional candidate, said Oliver and Dermott must overcome a long list of objections raised by the state party before they'll earn a spot on the state's November ballot. Among their hurdles, Wiley said in a text message, quote, making us believe that when the next big moment to stand against the state arrives, they'll be on the side of liberty instead of tyranny. At present, we don't have faith this ticket will stand with our principles. In a release, the Colorado Libertarians characterized the pair as essentially useful idiots for the regime after listing grievances that included Oliver's willingness to wear a face mask and celebrate a distanced Thanksgiving dinner at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The party faulted Termott for telling feeble jokes in response to Trump's recent conviction on multiple felony charges in the New York trial. So interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. We'll see what happens there, but the infighting is not unique to any political party. Every political party in Colorado has some infighting, not liking their candidates, not liking their leadership. The fights continue on. Very interesting stuff. Let's move on. All right, just a couple more stories here. This is from the Colorado Accountability Project.substack.com. That's Corey Gaines, his Substack there. House Democrat Majority Leader Duran misleads the public on her gun control measure with the assistance of the Post's Nick Coltrane. Here's a little graphic he has of mislead and Monica Duran there in the Denver Post. To lead in the wrong direction or into a mistaken action or belief, often by deliberate deceit. To lead astray, give a wrong impression. The Post article linked first below was breaking news on the day that Polis signed Rep. Duran's gun control bill. See the second link below, which added to the requirements to get a concealed carry permit in Colorado. In that article, Representative Duran says the following about her legislative effort. Link left intact. States that have eliminated their live fire training requirements to receive a concealed carry permit saw a 32% increase in gun assaults, said House Majority Leader Monica Duran, a Wheat Ridge Democrat who has been one of the lead sponsors in a news release. The data is clear. Live fire gun training can save lives. This important legislation will ensure that Coloradans with concealed carry permits are properly trained before they bring their firearm into their communities. That link, originally not there, but with Post reporter Nick Coltrane added after an email exchange he and I had where I asked for the study which Duran was referencing. I received the same link from Rep. Duran in an email, which I also sent to her at about the same time, confirming that this was indeed the study informing her words. Is to a study which supposedly shows that states which have no live fire training for concealed carry see an uptake in assaults. The study supposedly informs Duran's contention that her bill, with its expanded training requirements, will make us safer. Except that this quote is misleading. The study she references does not make that claim, and it does not in any way show that Coloradans will be safer with their new requirements. This is a claim that, of course, the Denver Pest was happy to thoughtlessly share with us all without taking the 5 minutes it took me to figure out the holes in Rep. Duran's claim. When I asked Mr. Coltrane whether or not he noticed these holes, he didn't provide any reply. In the following two posts today, I will outline the problems with Rep. Duran's claims so that you can be better informed than the Post wants you to be, and so that you can be better informed when you see claims like this in the future. So check that out if you're interested. But Corey Gaines here does a great job of really dismantling the propaganda coming from Monica Duran and the Denver Post, pushing their ridiculous gun control, their anti-gun requirements, trying to make it harder for good people to be able to defend themselves. So thank you for that one, Corey. Let's move on. Got to talk about RTD. RTD is an absolute disaster. It's such in a bad state right now. RTD riders face mounting disruptions as rail safety inspectors find more problems. Yeah, big surprise there, June 12th, 2024. Of course, this is RTD, the same people who want to create a front range passenger train line all across Colorado. And look at all the issues they're having with their buses and their light rail. RTD public transit riders are facing disruptions mounted upon disruptions, with delays of up to 45 minutes added to already tortoise-like light rail travel, after safety inspectors found problems on tracks that forced trains to crawl through newly designated slow down zones. Riding RTD trains from downtown Denver through the southeast corridor along Interstate 25 can take 2 hours. Metro Denver residents relying on buses this week must navigate multiple station closures downtown due to construction. Elevators at RTD's 9 Mile Station, 38th and Blake Station were declared inoperable due to mechanical issues, forcing train and bus riders who require elevators to seek temporary shuttles. Portions of RTD's A line rail route between Union Station and Denver International Airport were undergoing inspections too, RTD officials said, requiring buses between downtown and Central Park. On Monday morning, a key cross metro bus run was canceled because no driver was available. Yikes. RTD is a mess. RTD has been a failure. They do not do a good job with what they're doing. They are over budget. They're constantly not delivering on their promises. And let's move on because we got a related story here from CPR.org. June 12, 2024, voters will likely be asked to permanently spare RTD from Tabor limits. That's right, this RTD that fails to deliver its promises, that can't do its job as it is, wants more of your tax money. They want more and more of your money. These greedy politicians want to take more money out of your wallet so they can fund their programs that are total absolute failures. A regional transportation district will likely add a question to the November 2024 ballot asking voters to permanently allow it to keep revenue that would otherwise be refunded to taxpayers under the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. An RTD board committee unanimously endorsed the de-Brucing ballot question on Tuesday, a reference to Tabor's author Douglas Bruce. RTD's full board will vote in late June on whether to send the question to voters. The agency currently has two different exemptions from Tabor for different parts of its budget. One expires later this year, the other in 2050. The ballot measure would ask voters to spare RTD's entire budget from Tabor limits permanently. They want more money. They want more of our money. It's absolutely and utterly ridiculous, but they have failed to deliver on what they're capable of and run into problems. Giving them more of our money, especially in these times, is a bad idea. Let's move on. Almost done here. Got to bring this one up. It's just such a big story. Colorado Newsline, left-leaning news website, but nonetheless, important article here. June 10th, 2024. Plutonium found in air near former Rocky Flats nuclear weapons plant. Extremely important because there's so much development going on in that area. There are measurable levels of plutonium in the area planned for recreational trail development near Rocky Flats, experts warned in a recent court filing. Chemist Michael Ketterer and a retired FBI agent John Lipsky measured levels using air filters at 3 locations near Rocky Flats during the high winds April 6th. When dirt was visibly blowing through the air, they said. They reasoned that 2 plutonium isotopes originating from the former nuclear weapons plant and current Springfield Superfund site were present in the air. It is concluded to a reasonable level of scientific certainty that Rocky Flats plutonium is being dispersed under episodic high wind conditions prevalent at the site from contaminated source areas on the Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge and is being transported eastward towards non-federal lands and populated areas. Ketterer wrote in May 2021 affidavit in federal court. You got to read that. Very interesting stuff. Pretty frightening stuff, actually, that there's still plutonium in the air floating around on that northwest side of Denver. Yikes. Well, moving on to the last article of the week. Denver Post again. 10 cents adds up. Here's how much Denver has collected from bag fees. Of course, this ridiculous ban on plastic bags and then the requirement for 10 cents paying of it has been absolutely insane. Denver has collected $5.676 million over 3 years. Absolutely ridiculous. This is from June 14th, 2024. 3 years after requiring retailers to charge for disposable bags, Denver has collected $5.76 million, although the growth rate of that number is expected to taper off. The city said that it has spent nearly $1 million of that, and a survey underway will help direct where the remainder of the revenue goes. Denver started requiring retailers to charge 10 cents per disposable bag in July 2021. Retailers keep 4 cents of each bag to cover the cost of compliance, and the remaining 6 cents go to Denver's Office of Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resilience. Denver's law was followed by a similar one statewide, which banned single-use plastic bags as of this January. Although retailers were allowed to use up pre-existing stock through May, retailers are still allowed to offer non-plastic bags for the fee. Absolutely and utterly ridiculous. I mean, come on, they're nickel and diming us. These politicians just want all of our money, want to make life so much more expensive and so much more difficult for everybody. Absolutely sad, absolutely shameful behavior. One thing I want to talk about, wonderful event coming up this week, Denver's premier Liberty meetup, Denver Liberty on the Rocks at the Great Independence Institute in downtown Denver. This is going to be an event you do not want to miss. The War on Health with Charlie Robinson. It's Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. Doors open at 6, talk starts about 7. Definitely check it out. Free event, free parking. There's going to be free drinks. Definitely want to be there. After a great event last December, we knew we had to get Charlie back. Charlie is the host of the Macroaggressions podcast and the author of several books. Charlie will be coming back again to talk about all the crazy ways that government not only makes us less healthy, but also gaslights about how they are protecting us. We'll be meeting at the Independence Institute, not at Choppers. Doors open at 6, talk starts at 7. Definitely got to check it out. It's going to be a good, great event. Hope to see you there. I'll be there as usual. But really want to say thanks for tuning in. Got some wonderful interviews and stuff coming up this week. Going to be doing a live stream during the June primary coming up here on the 25th. So definitely check that out. Have some special guests. Going to be a lot of fun.